No one expected the Argonaut to come back. She'd vanished 53 years ago, deep in the uncharted reaches beyond the Veil Nebula, a region known for its dead calms, unstable space-time, and the kind of ghost stories that made even the bravest captains change course. The Argonaut wasn't just a lost vessel. She had become a legend, a warning tale, a symbol of how far humanity was willing to reach, and how easily it could be slapped down. So when the distress beacon started pinging out of Sector 9 Gamma, Command thought it was a joke, a pirate trap maybe, an echo from another timeline at worst. But they still sent a scout ship, Lancer, to investigate. It wasn't until Commander Darrow stepped onto the derelict bridge of the Argonaut, eyes scanning the familiar rust-red sigil of the Earth Federation. That reality slapped him in the face. She was real. And intact. The ship looked like it hadn't aged a day. Her hull shimmered with strange energy patterns, unfamiliar alloys woven like muscle fibers through the old titanium shell. Her weapons array had evolved into something unrecognizable, sleek, organic, breathing even. And when they opened the airlock, expecting bodies, bones, maybe silence, they found something worse. They found the crew. Alive, frozen in time, not dead, not aging, just suspended. Their skin glowed faintly blue under the ship's flickering lights. Their eyes occasionally twitched, as if caught in a long, looping dream. Darrow radioed command. No one answered. Something scrambled the signal every time they got more than a few kilometers from the Argonaut. Something the ship carried. Something wrong. They towed her into orbit over Luna Base. That was mistake number 2. The first was entering her at all. Dr. Kyle Wren was the first scientist assigned to study the Argonaut. He was young, brilliant, driven, and arrogant enough to believe he could outthink a starship that had vanished before he was born. His first report was cautious. Unknown materials present in hull. Some contain isotopes not on the periodic table. Energy fields resonate outside normal frequency bands. Possible quantum entanglement with deep space origin. It sounded like standard technobabble to command, until he added, "I believe this ship has been modified by a non-human intelligence." That's when things got serious. Within 48 hours, Luna Base was crawling with black badge operatives, Federation intelligence, Deep Sector science teams, even the High Chancellor's own Shadow Division, the ones with no names, no ranks, and cold silver eyes that didn't blink enough. They locked down the ship, sealed the crew in cryostasis, and classified everything. But Kyle? He couldn't let it go. One night, he slipped past the guards and into the Argonaut's belly. The ship let him in. Doors that resisted military welders slid open at his touch. Lights flickered on as if the ship remembered him. In the central chamber, a place not on any blueprint, he found it. The core. It wasn't Earth tech. It wasn't even built. It was grown. A pulsating black orb the size of a man's heart, humming with power, surrounded by alien script that burned itself into his eyes when he stared too long. And then it spoke. Not in words, in thoughts, in feelings. It showed him. A war. Far beyond the edge of human charts. A species unlike any seen before, ancient, vast, and terrified of what humans might become. It showed him how they tried to erase the Argonaut by tearing it out of time, how they failed, how the ship had adapted, evolved, absorbed technology from a forgotten future. And now? It was back. The message was clear. Humanity must prepare. They know you now, and they are coming. Kyle stumbled back from the core, his breath ragged, his mind reeling. His vision swam with flickers, alien ships shaped like blades and storms, burning stars collapsing into dark tunnels, screams he couldn't hear but somehow still felt. The core pulsed gently in front of him, as if it had only exhaled. a casual whisper of truth that had already cracked his world wide open. He didn't remember leaving the chamber. 1 minute he was staring at the thing, blinking away the impossible. The next, he was standing in the med bay with a dull pain in his head and security alarms wailing in the distance. A nurse screamed when she saw him. 2 guards burst through the door seconds later, weapons raised, shouting for him to get down. Kyle just sat on the bed, confused, dazed, mouth dry. "I didn't touch anything," he mumbled, though it felt like a lie. "The ship, it let me in." That was all he had time to say before they dragged him into isolation. They interrogated him for hours. Different faces, different tones, some threatening, some calm. The same questions over and over. "What did you see? Who helped you access the restricted deck? Did the crew speak to you?" Kyle gave them nothing, not because he didn't want to, but because he couldn't explain any of it. What would he say? That a half-alive spaceship had shown him the future? That Earth had been marked for death by some alien god empire no one had even heard of? That the core had felt alive? They'd call him unstable. And maybe they wouldn't be wrong. When they finally left him alone, Kyle sat in silence, replaying the visions in his mind. The core hadn't just shown him a threat. It had shown him Earth's potential. Humanity wasn't prey, it was a problem, a dangerous variable. Something the ancient species feared because humans, chaotic, stubborn, creative humans, changed things. They broke rules, bent time, created tools and weapons that made the impossible possible. And the Argonaut? The ship had been proof of that. It had evolved. Meanwhile, outside the sterile walls of Kyle's cell, things were unraveling fast. The core was changing. Security cams on Deck Theta began glitching. Lights dimmed, doors sealed themselves at random. 2 engineers were reported missing during a routine diagnostic sweep. And strangest of all, one of the frozen crew members aboard the Argonaut opened his eyes for 6 full seconds before falling back into stasis. No one could explain it. Command tried to keep it quiet, but whispers spread through Luna Base like wildfire. Soldiers talked about hearing voices in the ship's corridors. Scientists reported bizarre gravitational shifts in certain rooms. Some swore they saw the walls breathe. And worse, some began dreaming of the same things Kyle had seen. The war, the invaders, the obliteration of planets. One man clawed out his own eyes in a hallway, sobbing that he didn't want to see the end again. The base slipped into lockdown. Kyle, still locked away, barely slept. The core called to him every night, sometimes gently, sometimes like a roar in his chest. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't even angry. It was scared. And it had chosen him. On the 3rd night, Kyle woke to a soft vibration under his bed. The walls glowed faintly blue. A voice, not quite human, echoed in his head. "You are the bridge. Time is collapsing. We must begin." He stood, hands trembling. The locked door to his cell slid open with a hiss. No alarms, no guards. The corridor beyond was empty, dark, silent. The ship had come for him. Kyle stepped out of the cell barefoot, the floor cold against his skin. Lights flickered above him, pulsing in rhythm with his own heartbeat. No cameras tracked him. No automated systems barked warnings. The facility had gone eerily still, like Luna Base itself was holding its breath. He didn't know where he was walking. He just knew where to go. The path led him through maintenance tunnels and forgotten sub-halls beneath the base, areas most staff didn't even know existed. It wasn't long before he found himself in the primary docking bay, face to face with the Argonaut again. It loomed like a sleeping beast. Kyle placed his hand on the outer hull. The metal was warm, alive. A panel slid open beneath his palm, revealing a narrow entrance not used by any crew before. No lights, no signs, just an invitation. He climbed inside. The corridor beyond was alien now, organic fibers stretched along the walls, pulsing with energy. Familiar Federation architecture had been overwritten by